Welcome, everybody, to the X Factor podcast today on this Friday afternoon. Today we're going to be getting right into it. Like I've been saying all week, we're going to get right into it here with NFL predictions. The NFL release schedule came out last Thursday. I was going to do it last Friday, but I kind of forgot, and I also was not fully ready because I made so many changes to this because I felt wrong in a lot of spaces when I did the predictions. But I have the full prediction release here for me. If you people get mad, get mad. It's my prediction. I'm just letting you know I am a Cowboys fan, so trust me. There's no bias here. This is what I think. This is what I think going into this year, based off what happened last year, based off what happened in the offseason, based off what I could probably happen this year. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I think they have that record, why I think this person's going to beat this person in the playoffs, why I think the Super Bowl is going to happen, all this kind of things. But I do have this next year's Super Bowl. It's going to be the most random Super Bowl prediction ever. So, that is just letting everyone know right now. But, if you want any updates on the X Factor podcast stuff, follow the Twitter XFactorMG5654. X and the MG are capitalized, but then also follow the X Factor Sports 420 TikTok page. I'm going to be posting some of my clips on there soon. I'll probably post some of these clips that I have here on there soon. So, but let's get right in here. We're going to get in here with the AFC South and the NFC South. So right at the bottom of the list, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going at a 5-12 record. Yet they made the playoffs last year at a 9-8 record, I think, or 8-9 record. But Brady retired. They lost a couple pieces, and yeah, they still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But Baker's at quarterback and Todd Bowles is their head coach. I think that's where it really lies on everything, and that's where I think. That's where they're going to fall off, is right there at quarterback, and I think that's what's going to cost them a lot of their games next season. So right there, Tampa Bay, I got them at 5-12. And then the team next to that is the Atlanta Falcons. I got them going at the exact same record at 5-12. I do feel like they could probably be better, but with how their schedule is, I feel like it's just at that time. And who do they have at quarterback? They have Desmond Ridder. I feel after what I seen last year, I don't think he's fully. He could probably play different this season. He could probably, get better and all that stuff, but I just feel that they still need add a couple more pieces, and then they can get up better. They can probably get up to 8 games maybe, but it's not looking like that in my thing here. So, next team and second in the division at a 9-8 record. The New Orleans Saints. As much as I think the coach is an idiot, what they did in the offseason, adding Derek Carr, is really what's gonna get them over that little hump, because they finally got a quarterback that they can rely on to get into that spot. They also have Alvin Kamara. They have Michael Thomas. They got Chris Olave. And Chris Olave, I feel like he's going to take that number one spot going into this season. So I feel that the Saints really could. It's pretty much for Derek Carr, it's pretty much a make or break year. It's like you got to make it to the playoffs, or just, everything that they paid you is pretty much nothing at that point. So, and then coming out the NFC South Division champions, the Carolina Panthers. I got them going exactly at 9-8 as well. Only difference is they had a 4-2 division record. The Saints had a 3-3 division record. So that breaks the tiebreaker right off there. And I think Panthers, this is a pretty easy one to really think about here. The Panthers, they added Bryce Young in the offseason. They added Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen. They added so much weapons to this team. Like last year, they were the worst. Obviously one of the worst teams in the league. Now they could potentially be one of the most shocking teams going into the playoffs. Like, you don't know, like, they could either go all the way up to the NFC Championship or swap out in the first round. So, like I said, this team is really, and plus with Frank Reich under the helm at head coach, it's really going to show what this team's made of next season. I feel that they all know and they're all comfortable about what happened this offseason and what they did. And I feel like they all have the confidence in that organization that they can go in and probably and potentially win their first ever Super Bowl. So, over here to the AFC South side, at 5-12, I got the Houston Texans. Yes, they did add C.J. Stroud. Yes, they added Will Anderson. They added Dalton Schultz over the offseason. They traded Brandon Cooks. I still think none of that's going to help them go to the playoffs, though. They still need to add a whole lot. I still think they're in rebuilding mode. And it's okay for quarterbacks to get picked early like that and still be bad the first year. Peyton Manning, one of the worst, had 28 interceptions, I believe, in his first year. Look at him now. Brett Favre, he didn't really start in his first year, but he was also a second-round pick. A lot of quarterbacks, some quarterbacks, they start that first year and they're not the best. I feel like this is where Houston is, and it's not C.J. Stroud's fault. It's just the lack of talent they got around him. And if C.J. Stroud can somehow pull it all and put it all on his back and carry that, and somehow get better than 5 wins, that's probably Rookie of the Year material right there. Like, if that happens, I think Bryce Young will not win Rookie of the Year. I think C.J. Stroud should probably win it for having to carry that team all season. But like I said, 5-12 they had. I think they had like 2 or 3 wins last year. I think this is a bigger upgrade. I feel like they in that this next off season, they get better and probably make the playoffs. So, this next team I feel like should have had a rebuild a long time ago. And it's the Tennessee Titans. I have them going 6-11. Yeah, they added Will Levis. Yes, they still have Derrick Henry. Yes, they still have Ryan Tannehill. They did get Peter Skoronski. But like I said, this team is really, and it's really and they don't really have anyone at receiver besides Traylon Burks. And last year he did not go well. It did not go well for him. I didn't think he had a good season. I am hoping that he probably fixes up this year, but I'm not 100% sure if he will. And Derrick Henry, he's already getting up 30. You don't know when those kind of running backs, nowadays running backs hit about their late 20s and they're out of it. Derrick Henry, he almost led I think he almost led this NFL in rushing yards last year. So it's just a matter of time of when he's gonna fall a little bit. Ryan Tannehill, I feel like he is falling down a little bit. I feel like Will Levis starts in the middle of the season and takes them to the rest. And I feel like Will Levis will be the QB of the future soon. It's either Will Levis becomes a QB of the future soon, or he becomes another draft bust at that point. So, like I said, Tennessee Titans, I feel like they should have had a rebuild a long time ago. It's just now in my opinion, that's where I think that it stops. So, and then in the NFC South, second place winner, the Indianapolis Colts. I got them going 6-11. They got the defense. Offense, I'm not 100% sure. I know they got Jonathan Taylor. They got somewhat of a good offensive line. Receiving core, I have some questions about. QB, I have some questions about. And it's not if Anthony Richardson could play, top level at quarterback. It's just what he did in college last year. And everyone was crazy off his combine, how great of an athlete he is and all that. Some coaches can't handle quarterbacks that are athletic like that because they don't know how to treat them. Shane Steichen, the head coach for the Colts, he dealt with Jalen Hurts last year. So I feel it's going to be a rough start. And I feel like this is where most of the losses come. Like in the first 7 to probably 10 games, I feel like it's going to be a real rough patch. But in the last 7 games, that's where I feel like they push it off and fly. But they still missed the playoffs at a 6-11 record. I do feel that next year, if they add him like a top receiver instead of having Michael Pittman there. And it's not that I don't think Michael Pittman's a number one receiver. It's not. I really don't think he is a number one. I feel like he's a number two. But if they can add someone with him in, who knows if DeAndre Hopkins wants to get traded next year or whatever. Boom, perfect spot for Colts. They need a number one receiver. Boom, trade someone to them. So that's the AFC North. I'm gonna get in here with the AFC East here, and at last, and this division's really tough. Like, this division's like probably the toughest division I had to do predictions with, because I feel like every team could make the playoffs, but only one of them did not make the playoffs, and I have that as the New England Patriots. They went 8-9, and they added a new offensive coordinator. I think it was Bill O'Brien who they brought in last year or for this season. If you guys don't know, he coached offensive coordinator for Alabama last year. He was a head Houston coach, Houston Texans head coach for a while, and plus he's been with Bill Belichick for before. And I feel like this is where Mac Jones has his comeback somewhat year here, and they go 8-9. Defense, I think, is all right. I think more of it is because of like, what is Bill Belichick gonna do? I feel Bill Belichick, he's there, but like last year, I felt like Bill Belichick wasn't there. I just felt that I think if they don't do something, if they don't go right full at it this year or next year, I think Bill should probably get fired. Because they lost Brady a couple years ago. They made the playoffs, but lost like 47-10. But so it's just a matter of time of when you're getting sick and tired of these non-playoff appearances, especially when you were a 20-year dynasty and that's all you know is playoffs. And that's all you know is playoff success. And when you're not making the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years, it's kind of tough. So, but I do have them going 8-9. Like I said, it's a real tough division right here. And then these next 3 teams are all tied. These next 3 teams are tied in their division. But I'm going to get who they had at the rankings. So third, I have the Buffalo Bills going 12-5, and Jets and Dolphins both will go 12-5. Like I said, this division is tough. I have Jets, Bills, taking a series off each other. There's no sweeps between the Dolphins, Jets, and Bills. None of them did sweep any of each other. They all took a loss and took a win with each other. Bills have 12-5. I think they're with Von Miller coming back, I feel like they could, still run the table in the AFC. I do have some concerns on what Josh Allen did last year with the interception issue. Same thing people were worried about Dak about, but everyone wants to talk about Dak's issue and not, Josh Allen's issue. But, and I do have a worry at receiver because they still only have Trayvon Diggs at their main spot. Gabe Davis, he's inconsistent, but when he's on, he's on. But when he's off, you don't even know where he is. It's like he left the game mid game and just didn't come back. So, defense I think is all right. Offensive line I think needs work. They also brought in Dalton Kincaid, which they thought Dallas was gonna take him. Psych, they didn't. They weren't even interested in a tight end at that point, so they kind of just wasted their own draft picks to, just to try to gamble on that. But, and now they have Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, so that could be a good tight end duo going right into next season. But the Buffalo Bills, I think 12-5 would be a really. If they do better than that, I wouldn't be surprised. But with how tough this division is, I think they're going to take a couple losses. And how tough this conference is this year, I think they're probably going to take a couple more losses than they did last year. And then second in the division, I got the New York Jets, Jets. And the main reason for that it's because of Aaron Rodgers. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, he has the pieces around him, he has the defense around him, um, and they can really run the table with what they got. Um, Brees Hall coming back from injury, gonna be great. Garrett Wilson coming out for a second year, gonna be amazing. Offensive line, I feel like is just a little better than last year. That guy Becton, I feel like he's great. He's lost a lot of weight since coming to the NFL too, so that's a really good sign. Um, Tight end, I do have a little issue for because I feel like that's a hole that they can fill. Um, and defense, I feel they did a lot with Will McDonald from Iowa State, drafting him early in the first round this year. And I feel he could. I feel like in the early of the season he's gonna be slow. Then like after a while he's probably gonna get into it. So, and like I said, New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, he's gonna. And I feel like probably 3 out of those 5 losses, Aaron Rodgers is gonna have some washed up little Rodgers in him. But then the rest of the wins, they're just like, boom, we're gonna get right into it. And I feel like the 2 losses are just gonna be off competitive wins from Bills and Dolphins. So. And then winning the division, I got the good old Miami Dolphins, and there's not really a big argument on how they can't lose this division spot. They added Jalen Ramsey in the offseason. They got Tyreek Hill. They got Jalen Waddle. And this is me based off of Tua not getting hurt at any point next season. If Tua doesn't get hurt at any point next season, it's either they go 12-5 or they go 14-3 or better. Like they're and with Josh McDaniel, he is, in my opinion, outside of Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, I think I'm missing a few others. I know I am. Out of a few of those, that comes out of smart being a smart head coach. Josh McDaniels is probably up there as one of the most smartest head coaches right now. I feel like he can, and he knows how to scheme a good offense. He did it last year. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I think they're gonna have a better season they did last year with Tua. Jalen Ramsey, he ain't like he's not just some random corner they traded in the offseason. They gave the Rams some stuff for him. Well, it wasn't really big because there wasn't really they didn't really give him much for him, which I think is weird because Jalen Ramsey is Jalen Ramsey, and I feel like he's the best corner in the league. One of the best corners in the league at that. But if they go better than 12-5, I wouldn't be shocked. If they go less than 12 wins, I'm gonna be really shocked. But if they have a problem with Tua getting injured, I feel like I feel like the only thing holding them back is if Tua gets hurt. And if Tua gets hurt, that's what holds everything back. That's what holds teams back. That's what holds them in the playoffs back. That's what held them back last year. But I have it as if he's going all year non-injured. So that's gonna be a team to look for in the playoffs. Right here with the NFC North, it's gonna be a weird little. I feel like I'm gonna trigger a couple nerves here with some of these people. Because it's not how everyone expects it's gonna happen. This is my prediction. So, and last I got the Green Bay Packers going 5-12. They just lost Aaron Rodgers. They just lost Devontae Adams. They got Jordan Love there. And it's nothing against Jordan Love. I just feel with the inexperience of gameplay that he's had. Like he played a full game and he played a game against the Philadelphia Eagles where he showed out pretty good. But then again, it was later in the game. So, and then they have Christian Watson there. So Rodgers and Devontae Adams probably have their kryptonite sitting there with Love and Watson. It could potentially be the same thing like that. But I feel like this year is just, it's just trying to get Jordan Love in the mold of things, trying to get him going. I feel like early in the year it's going to be a little rough, but then later on they get some stuff going, but I feel like they still lose games. I feel like some of those players that are getting up there in age are going to wash up just a little bit, and I feel that's where everything is. And this NFC North division, in my opinion, is not going to look pretty next year. Because you got Dolphins. I feel Dolphins are third. I have them going 8-9. Or the Lions, my bad, Lions. I have the Lions going 8-9. Main reason for that, I just feel like I know they got the heart and soul and everything, but they lost Jameson Williams and a couple other people to suspensions. That's really what's going to hurt them early in the year. Jared Goff. People could say what they want about Jared Goff and him being good, and I feel like he's still a pretty decent quarterback. Um, I just feel that I don't really think he could do. It's like I don't think he's gonna top what he did last year. And I'm not saying and he's not a bad quarterback, but I feel like he's not one of those quarterbacks that's just gonna lead them right into the playoffs at 11-5 or 11-6 or 12-5 and thrive. And they brought in David Montgomery. They brought in they drafted a rookie running back right there in the first round. And they also got Jack Campbell. And Jack Campbell, I'm telling you everyone right now, give that man a year and he's gonna be the heart and soul of the team. Like everyone's gonna want to think when you go to a Lions game, Jack Campbell. He is really. And if you're not an Iowa fan, if you haven't watched Iowa football, yeah, if you're an Iowa fan, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't watched Iowa football, that man is a monster. It's like he is there nearly every play. So, and I feel that next season he's gonna be up there for defensive rookie of the year. So, but in second division, I got the Minnesota Vikings going 8-9. A down year from last year. I feel mainly it's gonna be because of Kirk Cousins. And the defense, mostly. Yeah, they have Justin Jefferson. Yes, they have Quinton Johnson. I believe. No. They drafted a rookie receiver. I know that. I'm blanking here because I'm talking about all this. But they drafted a receiver in the first round. I just still feel that they are really just gonna not really run the table with the NFC North like they did last year. I feel that the Vikings are. I feel like we're coming at the end of a Kirk Cousins era potentially. And I could be totally wrong. I could, Kirk Cousins could come back and be better than what he did last year and all that. But I feel like this year it's gonna be a little bit of a down year, and I feel like that's where they're looking for a quarterback spot and probably try to replace Kirk Cousins. But and like I said, they're the same thing with the Lions here. I just feel that they can't go in there. I don't think they're gonna go in there 12-5 or 11-6 or 10-7 and thrive right in the playoffs right early. I feel like they're just gonna be right there, stuck in the 9-8 seeds, fighting for a playoff spot. And then you got your NFC North Division champions for the first time since 2018, the Chicago Bears. I really feel that Chicago, and if you people see my offseason talk and everything, you guys already know I was pretty hyped on the Bears. I was really hyped on the Bears when they got DJ Moore. They started getting an offensive line. Darnell White from Tennessee, I wasn't a big high on him. I didn't think he needed to go that early to them. I feel that they could have picked someone with probably better talent potential. But the more I thought about it, the more like, yeah, that's probably a right pick for them. Justin Fields, generational talent. You can't sit there and tell me Justin Fields is not a good quarterback. Because if you see what he did last year with no one around him at that, you are an idiot. And with how much they upgraded in the offseason, I think this is where they finally finally get their playoff spot. And next year they could probably be way better than 9-8. Like if they're gonna upgrade, every year. Like they're gonna bring in better pieces every year after that. That's what's the point of an NFL team. But like this year, they're gonna be good. Next year, they're gonna be better. Like they're gonna be up there with Super Bowl contention in my opinion. And Fields, like I said, he could be a quarterback that could win MVP. I feel like he's a quarterback that can win the Chicago Bears a Super Bowl. So that's just my little thought there. But yeah, I have them 9-8 win the division. Kings of the North, boom, like that. And then we got the AFC West teams here. I'm gonna go with the first team. The last team on this list is the Las Vegas Raiders. I got them going 5-12, and everyone's like, "Why in the world do you have that?" They have Devontae Adams. They got all these pieces. I'm giving you two people: Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is nothing more than a system quarterback. He's just Kyle Shanahan's little system play toy to think that he's good, and then get rid of him when he starts doing Josh McDaniels, I think he's a fucking idiot. I really think he's an idiot. I think he is probably I think he's probably one of the worst coaches in the league. And that's hard to say when there's a lot of coaches that are not that good in the NFL. Or some coaches that I think are not that good. Like Todd Bowles, I think is a worse coach than Josh McDaniels, but they're still both going 5-12. There's two reasons right there. Defense, it's not really much of an issue. Offense is not really much of an issue. It's just I feel like in the NFL now it's more of who you got at quarterback. And quarterback wise, Garoppolo, he is not. I don't feel Garoppolo could do what he did in San Francisco, mainly because they don't have the same scheme as the 49ers. They don't got, Debo. They don't got Christian McCaffrey. They don't got George Kittle. Hell, the Raiders traded Darren Waller away to the Giants. But yeah, that's where I just feel that they're not going to be that good, in my opinion. So, third in the division, I got the Denver Broncos going 9-8. Bigger upgrade than last year. Missing the playoffs at the 10th seed. The Broncos, I feel they made upgrades in the offseason. And 9-8 is not even going to be an insult to them. It's either that or they make it to the playoffs. At that, but with how tough this conference is and how tough this division is, it's really gonna. Some of those teams that should probably be in the playoffs are not gonna make the playoffs. And the thing is, the difference is with NFC and NFC, the NFC are gonna have an easier playoff schedule, way easier playoff schedule, because it's either gonna have players that are hurt. There's gonna be a lot of NFC teams that have players that are hurt in the playoffs. Or they got players that are in their mid-30s that they're going to be a little washed up at the end of the year. Or they're going to be inexperienced teams that have not made it to the playoffs before in a while. And they're going to fumble under pressure. And then you got your teams that have been there the last couple of years that I feel like they're just going to run the table. So. And then you got the AFC, which, every playoff game that they're going to have, it's going to be a real competitive game. Because of how tough and how good all these teams are, so. And I said Denver, they're one of those teams that you should probably think they're probably gonna make playoffs, but they're just gonna slip out of it because how good that conference is. And same way with the Chargers, I got them going 10-7, but they're gonna miss it at the 8th seed. Like I said, it's really gonna hit because of a lot of those teams, and Chargers. I feel the Chargers gotten better, but I know how Kellen Moore is. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you know how Kellen Moore is. He is going to hold that team back, kind of like how he held Dallas back the last couple of years. Dallas could have, some of the play calling for Kellen Moore is mind-boggling. Like, when Kellen Moore has his good days, those are the days that, you're going to win big. But when he's off, you're going to see the type of 2021 Cowboys vs. 49ers game. That's how bad it is. Or 2022 playoff game. And the first time Mike McCarthy's been in the playoffs. Like that wild card game is really what's going to come out of Kellen Moore. Or the Cardinals game a couple years ago, when they lost 25-22. Like I said, he's off up until you need to get up, and then boom, he's just right at it. And sometimes there's not time left to do it. So, but Chargers, and I feel with the Chargers, it's gonna be different because they got Justin Herbert. I feel like Justin Herbert, he can pretty much do what he wants at that point. Change the play call if he needs to. And I feel Herbert could probably try to win MVP the next couple seasons, but I feel like with how tough, and like I said, with how tough that this conference is, some of these teams are going to miss the playoffs just by, one little spot. So, and then winning the division, the Kansas City Chiefs, 13-4. Yes, they did lose some pieces in the offseason, but you can't, and they did lose Eric Bieniemy, but you can't bet against the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. Playoffs, you can't bet against them either, which I did. If you will wait here for the playoff predictions here. So, the Kansas City Chiefs, I got them going 13-4. And it's pretty much just the same Mahomes, Kelsey type of duo. They're going to do the same things they do every year. Andy Reid, he's going to do the same thing he does every year. And just thrive. So, and then we get to the NFC West here. And last, I got the Arizona Cardinals going 6-11. Kyler Murray coming off injury. I feel like he's gonna have another down year. Jonathan Gannon, I'm not a fan of him being head coach for the Cardinals. Buda Baker, I feel like he's gonna want to get traded soon. That's probably gonna happen. DeAndre Hopkins, he's getting older. And when there's stuff like that happening, when all that stuff's kind of happening, I feel like that's where they're all going to crumble. When there's so much tension and drama going around the locker room with Buda Baker, what's going to happen with Kyler Murray, Hopkins, how are you going to do after everything that's happened last season? It's really going to be a questionable season for them. It really is. And Jonathan Gannon, I feel like, is not the right head coach for that team. I feel like a coach that could work with that offense, something that offense needs is an offensive-minded coach to come in there and do stuff like that. But again, I have been wrong before. I have thought that Matt Eberflus going into the Bears was the wrong decision, but maybe that I feel like they've been all right since. So that's just really what it is. And then I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant with this next team, the Seattle Seahawks, going 6-11. And if I hear one person saying, well, they got Geno Smith, look at the receivers they got, look at the running back they got, I want to throw a brick at someone who comments that. Because let me give you something right now. Geno Smith went about 7-8 years without starting. He goes in there 1 year, no one expects him to do anything, right? And that's the time when no one expects anyone to do anything. That's when they work harder. That's when they get into it. So, boom, they shock everyone. They make the playoffs at 9-8. Geno Smith gets his massive contract. I have told you guys on the podcast before how I felt about that contract. I feel like it was not the right thing to do. Because I feel like this year, he's going to do the same thing like he did the 7 years prior when he was a backup. And that's suck. And I feel like he's going to suck. And yes, he has the receivers around him. Yes, he has the running back around him. But you can have a team like that and still have a bad quarterback. Doesn't matter who you have. You can have, and for a perfect example, Andy Dalton with Dallas a couple years ago. When he came in. He wasn't the best. And we still went 6-10. I feel like Geno Smith, yeah, he had the talent around him, but it ain't gonna get up there. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I feel like last year he just got lucky. And if anyone says, well, Geno Smith is just a good quarterback, well, were you saying that the 7 years prior when he was a backup? Whenever he stepped in, oh, Geno Smith, we're fucked. So if you're gonna sit here and tell me Geno Smith is a good quarterback, I'm gonna throw a brick at you. I'm gonna try to throw a brick. I'm gonna find you. And that's not a threat. That's a promise. So, I'm just I'm just sick and tired of everyone on these social media pages, TikTok, podcast videos, that everyone's saying that Geno Smith's a good quarterback. He's not. He's not, and I feel this year he's gonna prove my point. And then once we get back to this up in January after the Super Bowl, right? After the Super Bowl, and if my prediction's right, I'm gonna sit here and tell you I fucking told you so, and you guys can come back right to this video and then tell and do the same thing and say, Nick, yes, you are right. You are right. Geno Smith is ass. So he's ass in a can of beans. That's what he is. So, and excuse my language, it really pisses me off that people think that Geno Smith's good. So, and especially with Brock Purdy, but we'll get into that when I talk about the 49ers. And the next team, the Los Angeles Rams, going 9-8. Yes, Matthew Stafford hurt last year. Aaron Donald might be washed. Everyone probably thinks they're probably washed. Cooper Kupp coming off injury. But you got to remind me, who's that coach? Who's the head coach there? Sean McVay. And another really smart head coach. He's going to get that team back together. He's going to get that team set up. And I feel like they're going to thrive a little bit. And they're going to make the playoffs at a 9-8 record. I feel like the Rams are not going to be like the same old Rams you've seen the last couple years. It's going to be like a little bit of a washed up Rams. It's going to be like one of those like last dance type of things. Like, yeah, we're not the best team, but this year we're giving it that one final shot, that one final hit to finally make something good out of it. And I feel that's what is coming out of this with the Rams. And every year we have this tension of, is Sean McVay retiring? Is Aaron Donald retiring? And all this type of things. And Sean McVay retiring at 38 would be a mind-boggling thing. I feel like that man could coach another 40 years if he wanted to. If he wanted to. And I get, wanting to retire early. You got family, you got all that stuff. But if you have fun doing what you're doing, I'd say you just keep doing what you're doing, I guess. So, and I said and I feel this is the last chance, the last stop for the career for Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald. Cooper Kupp, he's almost hitting 30, so who knows? They could probably try to trade him and go in rebuild mode next season. But this season, I feel like this could be the last chance for them to finally show why they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. So, and then we get to the 49ers. The hatred for them is about up to the hatred with the Eagles. But I do think they're going to be winning the division at 11-6. The real concern is the quarterback issue. Defense ain't an issue. Offense ain't an issue. It's the quarterbacks. Because you got Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance. And I'm going to get right into all these quarterbacks. Sam Darnold has not been good since he joined the NFL. When he had that stint with the Jets, I thought the Jets, since they had Adam Gase there, I thought, he wasn't getting a fair shot because he had Adam Gase there. He goes to the Panthers, still stinks. And while I still think Matt Rule is a little bit to blame with that. And now we get into it here with the 49ers. So I don't know what the hell is going to happen. If he plays bad, I'm just going to think he's a bad player. But if he plays way better than what he did with the last two head coaches that he's had, it's going to be a little bit of the scheme and how good Sam Darnold really is and why he was picked third a couple years ago. Then you get Trey Lance. Third overall pick, 2021. In my opinion, I feel he should be the right starter. He should be the rightful starter. He hasn't had many chances. He's had like those little chances, but he's got hurt. And I feel if he has one more little hurt incident, one little incident that he's gonna play bad, that's just the most wasted, massive trade draft pick in a while. Because they traded all this stuff to Miami for him. They got him. Boom, they had the issue with Garoppolo, now with Brock Purdy, now with Darnold. And Brock Purdy, I don't think is... and Brock Purdy, I feel the same way with Garoppolo. I feel like he's a system type of quarterback. And yeah, he's good, but he's not gonna be one of those guys if you put him on the Seahawks or put him on the Cardinals, put him on Tampa Bay, put him with Falcons. If he put the money in those teams, he ain't gonna be what he is in San Francisco. Hell, even if you put him with the Bills, I feel like he's still not gonna be this. I don't feel like he's gonna be better than what he is with the 49ers. And the only reason is because of the scheme system. And I don't know what Kyle Shanahan cooks with that system, but it cooks so well that you forget that team could ever be bad. You forget that the quarterbacks can ever be bad. Because last year, one thing that pissed me off last year was with when Brock Purdy was getting his run in. Everyone was dick riding that man so hard. And that's really where I got my hatred for the 49ers last year, was with how much people dick rided Brock Purdy. And when they got into the playoffs, when they played Dallas, he played terrible. When he had to play Philadelphia and Dallas showed why he was Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah, he did beat us, but then again, Dak played like ass. If Dak played like how he played the week before, they would have beaten him. But Dak, has to be inconsistent, and Kellen Moore has to be inconsistent on base. But they did win. But the next week they got destroyed. And people say, well, all these people got hurt. If Brock Purdy would have stayed in that game for 3 more series, he would have been dead. They would have to bring a stretcher, boom, he's dead. Because last year's Philly team is probably one of the best teams almost ever. Like, they're not better than the 2007 Patriots team. Well, I could probably say they would, because they could have gone undefeated last year. And I feel like the Eagles are going to go down as one of the best teams to not win a Super Bowl. And I mean, this is for like last year's team. They're going to be up there with the Patriots 2017. They're going to be one of the best teams to not win a Super Bowl. So, but like I said, I feel like the same thing is going to happen this year. Quarterback is going to be the main reason why they don't get to the Super Bowl. So, and then we get to the NFC North, and then we'll get to the NFC East. And NFC East, I tried not to put any bias around it. I thought what I really think could happen. All I know is you Commander fans and Giants fans might be a little upset because I don't have them going as high as you people think. So, but then we get in the NFC North here. Steelers 5-12. Defense is all right, a little there. T.J. Watt, Mika Fitzpatrick. Main stars in that defense, and then offense. I feel. Like, who do they have? Like, they have Pickens, and they got Pickett. And Pickett, I feel, is not fully... Like, he's good. Like, he had his flashes last year. But I feel like with the offense around him, it's just, eh. And, at some point, the streak of having winning seasons constant years has to break. And after what I seen last year, they got so lucky getting into it at the end of the year and getting a winning record. But I feel like this year really changes everything. And I feel like after this season, Steelers are gonna look at this team, say, "Hey, we need to upgrade in massive positions," and then they're gonna boom, 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 fix it all up, build around Kenny Pickett, and then go for a Super Bowl next season. So, third in the division, the Browns. I got them going 9-8. Main reason I don't got them better is because of Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson. I gave him credit last year for, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, well, he, didn't play for over 700 days or whatever the number was. He didn't play at all. He goes in there freshly new with the Browns and does not do good. This year, I feel like he's going to be better. I feel like he's going to be a lot better. I just don't feel with this division. I feel like that's the only thing holding him back is going to be Deshaun Watson when they need to get to those big games and chokes it up. So, and then Amari Cooper. I feel like Amari Cooper is going to be that main receiver next year. Myles Garrett. And this is probably one of the better Browns teams in a while, probably ever in that side of things. So, like I said, this year they're going to miss it, but I feel like next year they add way more pieces to the puzzle and boom, make it. And then we got the Cincinnati Bengals going 11-6, 7th seed. I would have them going better, but with the pieces that they lost last year, and we don't know what's happening with Joe Mixon. I feel this is gonna be it's gonna feel like a down year, but it's still gonna be the same old Bengals. Because of how Joe Burrow plays and how clutch Joe Burrow can be, and I feel like Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks right now. It's like if you have a tier, it's like Mahomes that's at the top, and then you take down a couple levels, and then you got Burrow, Allen, Lamar, all them kind of type of guys. So, and I feel when Burrow has when they need Burrow to do something good, Burrow's gonna show out and do something good. He's done it before. So I feel that's where really it all fits. So, and then winning the division, I got the Ravens going 13-4. Main reason is I think the receivers. They brought in Odell. They drafted a rookie receiver. I can't remember his name at the moment. That's what I'm just saying. Rookie receiver. I feel that they finally gave Lamar major weapons. And when you give Lamar weapons like that, I feel like that's where he's going to thrive. Defense could be an issue, probably a little bit of an issue next season. But it's going to get overpowered because of how fucking good that offense is going to be. And I feel like that's where they're going to go right in and fit it right in there, and they win them for first seed. So, that's what I got for that. And then we go in the NFC East here. The Commanders, I got them 5-12. And before you Commander fans freak out saying, "Well, you're just being biased, you're a Cowboys fan," blah 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 blah. Who do you have at quarterback? Jacoby Brissett, Sam Howell. Yeah, Sam Howell had a good game against Dallas last year. In a game Dallas needed the win, and a game Dallas didn't really need to win at that point. And a game Dallas didn't need to win because they already knew Philly was going to beat the Giants. Yeah, you guys destroyed Dallas, but that's only one game. That's only one game. Everyone needs to chill. They don't have nobody that's going to make them go to the playoffs. They don't have nobody at quarterback that's going to make them go to the playoffs. And in my opinion, I think Ron Rivera is fucking washed up and terrible. I feel like this year they need to, if they don't get better than what they did last year, I feel like they fire him. They should have drafted a quarterback right then and there. They had Will Levis right there in their hands at 17, and they don't pick him. They need a quarterback. Jacoby Brissett ain't the answer. Sam Howell ain't the answer. You had Will Levis, and he might not be the answer, but it's at least somebody you can try to revive on here. And and they missed out on him. So, and defense is not much of an issue, but we're in an NFL league where a defense, can't help you win every game. If we were back in the 80s and this was the type of team, they'd probably make it to the playoffs because how good their defense was. So, Commanders 5-12. Giants, I got them going 7-10. Saquon Barkley, they don't know what's gonna happen with Barkley, with his contract issue. Daniel Jones getting that massive contract for no goddamn reason. I feel like that's the biggest bonehead move they've done. They don't really got anyone at receiver. They got Banks in the first round. They got Darren Waller, but Darren Waller ain't gonna be their number one guy all season. I feel like Giants are gonna go back down to doing New York Giants things and back down to the bottom of the NFC East like they have been the last 7 years. Last year, they were one of those teams, like I said, with the Seahawks. They were one of those teams that, no one expects us to do anything, so we're going to be the underdogs and pop right in there. And I feel like this year, they're just going to go back down to what they were because Daniel Jones is not him. He's not him. You can say how much he's him, but if you put him on the Eagles, Eagles don't even make the Super Bowl. Like, if you put him with any other team, they're not going to do nothing with him. Like, actually, with the Eagles, they might actually do something with him because how much talent they have around him. But they don't got any receivers around him. The offensive line's not, outside of tackles, they're not the best there. And with how good the Cowboys' defense is and how good Philadelphia's defense is, they're going to run right through them this season. So, And then at the second seed, I got the Philadelphia Eagles going 11-6. Um, Main thing right there, it's I think early in the year they're gonna thrive, but they have like a 6-7 game streak where they have to face teams that are really tough going around, and they're not gonna win all those games. They're probably gonna win 2 to 3 of those, maybe. But I do have Dallas and Eagles splitting a series. I have the first game in Dallas. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm stopping this here. Um, Rest in peace to legendary running back Jim Brown has passed away. Oh my God. Um, Horrible news you want to talk about on a day like this. Um, Rest in peace, R.I.P. Condolences to the Brown family. One of the best running backs of all time, if not the best running back of all time. R.I.P. But we need to get right back in here. He would want us to talk about football in times like this. So, back right in here. And with Philadelphia, they had that 6-game streak. I feel like they're going to win 2 or 3 of those. Dallas, they faced Dallas in the middle of those. I think Dallas loses to them in the first series in Philadelphia, but then Dallas takes it home in a Week 14 game. Like I said, they're going to split the series there. And it would be mind-boggling if Dallas does sweep them, which I don't think is even near realistic. So, and then Philadelphia, and this happened last year, and I feel like this is going to be the main reason why they fall a little off this year. Then they lost Shane Steichen and Josh Gannon this past off season, so I feel like that could really hurt because I don't feel like the Eagles head coach. I feel like he's like a little child. He acts like it half the time too. So people like him, I don't like, but I'm just trying to, and I respect the Eagles organization for what they've done. It's just I hate that they're this goddamn good. I hate that they're this goddamn good. It really boils my blood right there, just because how good they actually are. So, but like I said, with Dallas Eagles, they're gonna split each series. And this happened last year with Philadelphia. They were in a stink of at the end of the year where they were getting hurt a lot. Older guys were getting hurt a lot. Suddenly Hurts got hurt last year too at the end of the year, which really hurt them. But I feel that's what most of their losses at the end of the year are going to come to is with players getting hurt. They still got Fletcher Cox there. They still got Lane Johnson. They still got Jason Kelsey. They got Darius Slay, who's 32 at this point. People, the veterans on that team are going to slowly, wash up just a little bit. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will admit that if I'm wrong. But this happened last year. A lot of them were getting hurt. They were coming down. Boom. I just feel that with the Cowboys, they got somewhat of a younger squad. They don't got as many veterans on that team than Philly does. And yeah, there were times last year, Jaron Curse was getting hurt a lot. Tyron Smith, he gets hurt always at some point of the year, and I feel like that's going to be the same issue for this year. But, when you're having 2 guys that are hurt constantly like that, at the end of the year, it's not really going to affect your team. But when you have the Eagles, when you got players that are veterans hurting down constantly at the end of the year, it's really going to be concerned. So that's really why I feel why Cowboys are going to take that first seed at 11-5, and they're going to go 11-5 3 years in a row. And I'm giving credit to Mike McCarthy on that one, because a couple years ago when people hired McCarthy, they clowned it. They're like, well, this is just another clown hire. Mike McCarthy, I gave him a chance, and I have given him a chance the last 2 years. I feel if the Cowboys don't get past the NFC divisional round, I feel like they need to do something at coach, owner, and potentially at quarterback. And it really hurts to say that because I have supported Dak since his rookie year. I have supported that man through his ankle injury, his thumb injury. Every time he played bad, I defended that man with my deep thoughts. And if they don't get past the NFC divisional round, I feel like that's the time where we need to think about changing quarterbacks. Need to start changing a lot of things. because Dak's nearing the 30-year-old age. We don't want another Tony Romo incident. And if we get another Tony Romo incident, it's going to hurt. So, and Cowboys, like I said, they have them being the first seed because of the injuries from Philly going at the end of the year. I think is going to happen. They're going to take advantage of that and just fly. So, we're going to get right into it here with the playoffs. All right, let's get into it here. We're going to get into it with the AFC playoffs. The 4 seed Jags will take on the 5 seed Jets. And I feel with Aaron Rodgers' playoff experience, I feel they can run the table. Like I said, Jags, I feel like they're also one of those teams that can run the table, but I feel like the Jets just have a little more edge to them, talent around them, and how much experience Rodgers has. I feel like he's gonna take that win right there. Bills at Miami in January in the playoffs. If it was Miami at Bills, I feel like Bills would win. But I feel like Miami, they're so used to the Miami weather going into the playoffs. And like I said, I feel like Josh Allen, he's gonna choke under pressure once again because of how good that Miami team is. And I feel like Miami, boom, they win right there in the wild card round. And then we get into a last year AFC championship game here. The 2nd seed Kansas City Chiefs versus the 7th seed Bengals. And I have the Bengals upsetting, if you want to call it an upset over the Kansas City Chiefs in the wild card round. I think Bengals get the revenge. I feel without without the pieces that they had, with the pieces that they lost in the offseason, I feel like the Chiefs could not do. They could probably still make it up to the Super Bowl, but I have them losing to Cincinnati. Cincinnati have that salty taste in their mouth after what happened last season. I just feel that the Bengals can run the table like with Miami. They're really going to run that table and show why they're Cincinnati Bengals, why they made the Super Bowl a couple years ago, why they made that magical run. So, and then they faced the Ravens. The Bengals faced the Ravens in Baltimore country. But then guess what? Cincinnati's going to break down their door and say, we're going to beat you. And remember I said I had a concern about the defense? The defense is what's going to get them out of this playoff spot here. So Ravens, I feel like they choke once again in the playoffs in the divisional round. But I feel like the next year they could, I feel like when they go into that offseason, they're going to think, well, hey, we need to figure out how we're going to beat these teams in the playoffs. So, and then Jets versus Dolphins. I think Aaron Rodgers going into Miami, it's, I feel Miami's going to dethrone Rodgers going in, his Jets run. His first season as a Jets quarterback is going to come to an end here in Miami. I think Miami wins and goes on to the AFC Championship game for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals versus the Dolphins. I really had a hard time thinking who I thought could win this matchup. But then the more I thought about it, I feel more comfortable that the Dolphins are going to win this matchup. Cornerbacks, I don't think the cornerbacks, the safeties could keep up with Waddle and Hill. Tua, like I said, this is if Tua's still healthy. He's going to throw for 400 plus against them. And they're going to go to the first Super Bowl since the 80s. So that's going to be a real one right there. Then we go to the NFC playoffs. The Chicago Bears versus the LA Rams in Chicago in January. Chicago beats LA. I feel like Chicago, they have the better edge here. I feel like Chicago can, like I said, a lot of these teams are either getting washed up or the inexperience. The thing is with this matchup, you got washed up with the inexperienced playoffs with Chicago. And I think the inexperienced younger guys take out the washed up older guys in this playoff matchup. And then we got the 49ers versus the Saints. Saints, I feel same way about, they're the team that's either hurt or old or inexperienced with head coach playoffs. And then you get the 49ers, who are just always there every year, and they take out the Saints. And then you got Panthers and Eagles. Last year, Eagles made the Super Bowl. I feel at this point they're going to have people hurt at that point of the year. But I feel with the inexperience with Bryce Young, first year, I think Eagles take that wild card game. San Francisco for Chicago. In San Francisco. And this is where Chicago's story ends here with San Francisco, with how good that defense is. They're just going to run right through Fields, in my opinion. And Chicago did beat them. Chicago did beat them in Chicago last year. But we're talking about playoffs here, big time here. And I feel Chicago, they lose here. They look in that offseason, same thing as, the Ravens did, and say, hey, we need to beat these NFC teams. What do we need to do? Make a either big splash trade or get someone good in the draft. And then the rivalry of the century here, Dallas Cowboys versus the Eagles. This really, and I have two scenarios for this. So in this scenario, I feel the scenario I'm going to talk about here, I feel like is the most realistic one. And to some people that hate the Cowboys, it's not realistic to them. But I have Cowboys beating Philadelphia and Dallas. And they're going to break their 20-some year drought as not going to the NFC Championship. And hear me out on this one. Philly, like I said earlier, they get washed up earlier in the year or later in the year. And yet they still got to play that playoff game in Carolina. And they're a young upstart team. They're going to come up and they're going to try to hit you right in the mouth and almost beat them. They go into Dallas. They got the week off before. They get to prepare. They get to rest. Boom, they go into Dallas. Dallas takes them out flat on their back. Boom, done like that. And even if it was the other way around and Philly got the first seed and Dallas had to play Panthers and go up, I think Eagles would take out Dallas. You know what I mean? I feel like Eagles would take out Dallas because they got that rested. Now everyone's getting back up and healthy, and boom, Dallas is down. But with how I think it's going to happen, or how I feel or more comfortable with, is Philly, they're going to get hurt. They're going to, a lot of their main older players are going to get hurt, or they're going to get, tired, and boom, they go into Dallas. Dallas takes them out. And then another big matchup after what happened the season before. I feel 49ers Dallas. I think the 49ers don't take out the Cowboys. I feel like the Cowboys finally get their shot back at them. They don't win 3 in a row against them. And I feel and I had the 49ers beating Dallas earlier in the year. And I thought if Dallas, whoever wins that game in the regular season, will win the loser of the regular season game will win the playoff game. I had Dallas losing. I think Dallas will beat San Francisco. And I mainly is because I think the quarterback issue is really what's going to ruin that for San Francisco. And then Dallas, first time in nearly 30 years going to the Super Bowl. And their story ends because I have the Miami Dolphins beating the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. And main reason for that, I feel like Dallas had a better, easier run than everyone else did. I feel like Cowboys this year are going to have the same type of run the Eagles had last year. They're going to have an easy run. Eagles, they had to play the Giants, inexperienced, boom, beat them. They beat up an injured 49ers team, boom, beat them. And then they lose to the Chiefs. Cowboys, they got to face a beat-up Eagles team later in the year, beat them. They got to face a 49ers team that I feel like is either going to be beat up or a quarterback's really going to fuck that day up for them, and boom, beat them. So, and then you go right in with Miami. And Miami, I feel like they're just too overpowered with Tua, Waddle, Hill. I feel like Diggs and Gilmore can't hold up with them too. And boom, I think Miami takes it in probably a 5-point game. So, that is my NFL predictions for the season. Hate it if you want, but either way, I still think any team you put in that NFC spot, in that first seed, like they put Dallas in there, I feel like they still have an easier run. I feel like they still lose in the Super Bowl to Miami, Buffalo, Kansas City, Ravens, whoever I have in the Super Bowl. I feel like the NFC team will still lose. So that is my predictions, everybody. Let me know in the comments what you think. I feel like most of them are gonna be like, well, it's just the same Cowboys saying, we got it this year, we got it this year. I don't really say that. I always hope for the best. I don't really, I feel like this is the year where they can try to run it, but then they get overshadowed because of how easy their playoff schedule was. So, or you can just think about it as Cowboys. They had an easier playoff schedule. They get and Miami had a tougher playoff schedule. Dallas could beat them because they had to fight harder to win their matches. So, or win their games. So, you could think it both ways there. So, that's my predictions, everybody. Let me know in the comments what you think. Everyone have a good day. Stay blessed.